That flew off the club face. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So in this particular video we're going to take a close look at a new iron from Cobra Golf, and it is the RAD Speed Iron. So obviously we've seen an introduction of the drivers. This is obviously filling the family now of the RAD Speed for 2021. We've got some new technology here, we've got some 3D printed technology, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, obviously explain why, how, or possibly how that can potentially help with performance. We're going to hit it, we're going to test it, we're going to give you my personal feedback of this iron. Okay, so just before we jump into the video, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, you've seen the content and you're enjoying it, please just consider hitting that subscribe button. Very much appreciate the support, trying to grow up to that 50,000 subscriber mark. It'd be great to get there as soon as possible. So do hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and obviously follow me up on my social media platforms as well, Instagram and Twitter, and handles there are at MN Golf Coach. Okay, so RAD Speed from Cobra. So the main sort of technology to really sort of talk about, or one of them to be honest, is the radial weighting. So it's the story that's following on from what they've introduced with the drivers. I have done a review of that. I'll put a little link and you can go and check that particular video out. But it's radial weighting. So basically what's happening now, they've got the 10 gram, what looks like a tungsten weight low in that toe section, and then they've got a 3 gram weight into this heel section. So really pulling that weight as far into those extreme parts of this golf club, which helps to, number one, centralize that central gravity location. But what Cobra's saying is helps with ball speed and provides a lower spin, which is interesting because we know these types of we'll class it as a game improvement iron. So typical golfer looking into this iron will probably be that sort of mid to high handicap golfer looking for power, looking for extreme, and typically these irons are obviously always strong loft, and this is no different. 7 iron at 27.5 degrees of loft, so it is strong. So when Cobra then say, well, this is a low spin club as well, so obviously which we know is going to help to generate some distance, it sometimes can be a little bit worrying in terms of that land angle and maybe that sort of control when that ball comes into land on the green. But obviously we're going to test it. We're going to measure the spin numbers and everything on TrackMan as per usual. So first impressions down by that golf ball. I tell you what, it's a great shape. You know, for a game improvement iron, it's obviously it's long from that heel to that toe. You've got some good blade length there. A bit of offset, but not a huge amount, which is quite nice to sort of see. Offset is obviously there just to try and help that club face to square, obviously get that ball launching as quick as possible. We have got that sort of carbon sort of top line, which we saw in the previous model last year. That's saving 2 grams of weight, which then they can obviously reposition. And to be honest, it's quite a nice, it's more of a black finish now compared to last year, which makes it look like that top edge isn't as thick. I mean, it is pretty thick, that top edge, but it doesn't appear as thick because of that black thin strip of that carbon. Okay, let's get this first shot hit. Ooh, and that flew off the club face. Very high ball flight. No issues with that getting in a 133 ball speed. That number's just jumped out to me. 134 in fact. 203. Yeah, okay. Now granted, I did just fractionally work that up that left side, but it did sort of fade back, so it was very, very neutral. I'm just thinking, wow, jumped straight out of the box there at 134 ball speed. It's not often to see ball speed in the 130 area. And again, very powerful. Looks to be very powerful. Again, that is a little bit more of a pulley shot, so we know those will go that little bit further, but consistent to that first shot, to be honest, 204 yards carry. So as first glance of this spin, you can see the spin number there at 5,188. I think the first one was about that 5,100 area. So obviously it's low, you know, this is a 7 iron, but we've got to remember it's 27.5 degrees of loft. We've got to remember Cobra saying this is a little bit more of a low spin head. So we're still going to expect that spin to be low, but it's not ridiculously low. I have seen 27.5 degree lofted clubs before in that 4.5, low 4,000 spin mark. So it's not ridiculously low. And again, very similar sort of shot pattern. I'm just getting these a little bit pulley. So first instincts there with the sound. Obviously, you know, game improvement irons, we tend to hear that sort of louder sort of sound in relationship to maybe obviously a forged iron club. And yeah, it is. It's a little bit more louder there. It's a little bit more explosive, but it's not horrendous. It's not like, geez, it's like a rocket going off. So a pretty decent, confident, inspiring sound, I would probably say. I say looks great behind the ball. We've got like a sort of satin finish on the heel and the toe section into the hosel. More satin finish again in the where the grooves are, so it just frames the ball very nicely. Oh, and that's a great strike. I'll tell you what, that's beautiful. That's a really nice feel off that club face. Very solid feel. Bit more neutral on that particular shot. Yeah, 206, 5,000. Looks to be really, really consistent. So let's talk about this 3D printing. As you probably see in the back of the club head now, it looks like to be like a plastic sort of section that goes in, and this is where it's all done by 3D printed. So it's like a lattice, which is basically saving weight in that club head, but also helps with the acoustics and the sound. And I'd probably, maybe whether it is that, I agree with that, it's a good sounding golf club there. It's a little bit on that louder sound, as we know in this type of iron we've just mentioned, but it's not horrendous, it's not really echoey. And obviously that material there will save weight, which again is going to get redistributed probably lower and deeper in that club head. So we've also got that power shell that we have seen in previous models, so that's that forged face from 17.4 stainless steel that is obviously created very, very thin to create as much flex, and again it's all ball speed off that club face, isn't it? Trying to max that as much as they possibly can. And as we say, we've got that carbon top line, so that's saving that 2 grams of weight. It's not a lot, but if they save a little bits here and there, they can move it around, just helps with that, increasing that MOI and that forgiveness. That's great. Really enjoying hitting that. And that is really getting up very, very sort of high. We're probably going to see some real good descent angles, even though that spin, and that little spun a little bit. See that shot shape there, just a little bit that left to right on that particular one. So it just pops that spin up a tiny little bit more. So not as powerful on the shot because of the spin. But they see the land angle there at 48 degrees, it's going to stop that. I've got loads of confidence that is going to stop. Now granted, I've got a little bit more speed than most, so there's probably not much of an issue of me getting that ball flighted. And maybe this is what I always say to you, you've got to go and test these, haven't you? Depending on your delivery and your speed and how the dynamic loft that you present at impact is really, really important into, with these sort of irons, with these stronger lofts. You've got to remember this 4 iron is going to come in at, I think it's about 19 degrees of loft, so it's really strong. So, but obviously you've got choices to flip the 4 iron out, obviously put the hybrids in there to try and help with that flight. Oh, caught that a bit toe. Wasn't perfect that, but it is again flown high. 1.3, 2.5 ball speed. Slight toe strike, just pull that spin a tiny bit, but that still hasn't lost any distance from that slightly more of a miss hit. So looks to be really, really forgiving from what I've seen there. Just that slight bit of strike. Looks to be obviously powerful. No issues of flight in that golf ball. Really nice high on that ball flight, and the feel and look pretty good, to be honest. I think they've done a really good job here, Cobra. So availability wise on these irons are 4 iron through to pitching wedge, gap wedge and sand wedge, available both right and left handed, which are good options. And obviously you've also got the 1 length versions in there as well. Come with the Arcos in the grip end of the golf club, so you can, if you want to go through all that tracking on the golf course, your stats and your shots and everything like that, obviously Arcos can do all that for you. Yeah, really enjoyed hitting that. That is a very nice golf club. A little bit of a left to right shape on that last one there to finish off, but again, very consistent. Looks to be on that front to back dispersion, which is good and quite refreshing for a more of a game improvement iron. Okay, so price wise of these, for a 4 iron through to pitching wedge, so 7 iron set in steel, are coming in at £749, which is good. I think really good value compared to other options out on the market. But let's go and check a few more details out on those particular numbers of the performance. Okay, so obviously just looking at that dispersion, maybe not as tight from that left to right as I probably like to maybe see it. Obviously a couple of little pulley ones that sometimes can be my little bit of a miss. Starting to see a little bit of these left to right shapers in there. Obviously they were very nice and straight, 3 that were hit there. But in terms of that front to back, which is quite, as I say, quite refreshing really in game improvement iron. There wasn't any real hot ones in there in a way, which is quite good. Sometimes you get some, what I would call a couple of freaky ones where you get them just flying that little bit further and all drop offs, and that's that front to back dispersion can sometimes just go, but that looked to be pretty good. And then we look into the numbers there, so say 7 iron, so swing speed around that 90 mile an hour mark, which is a fraction quicker than what I would probably normally be. But I have just recently increased a little bit of club head speed, so but 90 mile an hour, not a million miles away from where I'm at. Ball speed wise, 132.8 average, which is really good. There's not one single one in the 120 mark, so that's quite rare for me. Granted, it's strong on the loft at 27 degrees, but I am sort of trying to relate this to other brands that I've done. Don't think I've ever had 130s consistently in terms of that ball speed. So is that a little bit with that face, that 3D printing, flexing? It's hard to really pinpoint exactly what it is. Obviously my ball striking there is going to change, but I did get a couple of slight little mishits and it's still done well. Spin 5.2, 5.8, so yeah, it's going to be on the slight low side as we're going to expect from that type of loft, but it's not ridiculously low, so that's pretty good. And obviously 202 on that carry. Really good smash there and plenty of land angle at 46 degrees. Right, well done Cobra, hats off. That is a very, very good iron. It looks good. Obviously, there's quite a bit of tech in there. Now, if you're a type of golfer who, and I do get a lot of golfers commenting on my videos, if there's a gap in the back of this cavity, they go absolutely nuts. Oh, it's debris, grass, dirt, it's all going to get stuck in there. So if you're one of those golfers who are a little bit fussy on terms of the back of that cavity, then you might not like this because there is all those lattice, so those little holes, and you think, oh, dirt could get in there. It's a case of getting a bit of fire it all out. If you look after your clubs, wash them. I don't think that's a problem in my eyes. It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but performance-wise, really, really good. The look of the golf club, great. The sound, the feel is great for that game improvement iron. I think Cobra have done a really good job. But you post your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on the RAD Speed. Good price point as well. Is that something you can go and try yourselves? Obviously, a lot of fitting options, shafts, lengths, lies, everything like that. So make sure you go and get fitted if you can. Okay, appreciate watching the video as always. If you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Very much appreciate it. And hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.